Welcome to this episode of Eureka. When you travel through countryside, perhaps at a distance, you would see a tractor plowing a field, or maybe the tractor is being used by the farmer to take the produce to the local market. Almost every tractor that you would see in India has a hidden hand of Central Mechanical Research Institute, Durgapur, a constituent unit of CSIR. And today is our guest, Dr. Harish Hirani, is the director of that institute. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, being with us. Welcome to the show. We'll take a quick look at his brief profile before we start this conversation.
Coming from the historically enriched state of Rajasthan, Dr. Harish Hirani did his bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from Rajasthan Technical University and received PhD in tribology from IIT Delhi. With a robust 16 years of experience in teaching and research, Dr. Harish Hirani significantly contributed in the area of magnetic bearing and has always aimed at developing innovative products for societal benefit. Presently, Dr. Harish Hirani is the director of CSIR, Central Mechanical Engineering Research Institute, Durgapur, and has secured 5 patents. His book, Fundamentals of Engineering Tribology with Applications, has also proven to be a big success.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us and sparing your time for this program. Let me start with the question. What was your PhD about?
My PhD was on tribology, and topic of the PhD was dynamically loaded journal bearings.
Very interesting. You used a word like tribology.
Yeah.
To a person like me, the tribology is like studying tribes.
Yeah, you are right in one way, because this has been coined very recently around 1966, and most of the dictionary do not include this kind of terminology. But tribology is basically a study of friction, wear and lubrication.
Friction, wear and lubrication. Okay.
If I say more correct word, we say that it is a science and technology, or science and engineering of friction, wear and lubrication.
Okay, so issues like how do you reduce the friction, how do you have a better lubrication so that wear and tear can be reduced. That's a kind of...
It's basically a science. We say that how do we control. Sometimes we require a lesser friction, sometimes we require more friction. Sometimes we require a lesser wear, sometimes we require a more wear. It's let's take an example of a fountain pen, or you say that a gel pen. Gel pen, the wear rate is very high, but friction is less.
Okay.
So it depends what kind of situation you want. We can do engineering according to that.
Very interesting point. So let's go back to your PhD. What was it about?
It was basically to do a complete analysis how a bearing can see dynamic load in magnitude, as well as load is basically a force. So it varies in magnitude as well as in direction.
So like for example in a IC engine,
right,
when the piston is working,
right,
when the engine is working, it will be putting various forces at different point of its strokes.
Right.
So you are looking. Can you just explain it, like how do you look at that?
We have generally 3 kind of bearings in IC engine. What we call a piston pin bearing, other is called a connecting big and connecting rod bearing, other one is a crankshaft bearing. So load in all 3 bearings will be different. More severely loaded is a piston pin bearing, and then subsequent comes a connecting rod bearings. We have to design bearings in such a manner which gives a cost effectiveness to us. Designs can be number of things, and then when you go for the mass manufacturing, you need to know also what kind of design feature can be manufactured easily, and it will last can give very good performance. Efficiency is much more required in automobiles, so we can play with the bearings, we can play with the design of bearings based on your load requirement, based on your conditional requirement. It can be designed. So I basically made a software in that, and we can optimize bearing based on whatever the requirement you give. So I did first initially software development, then I developed a test rig to simulate the same environment and get the performance.
Yeah, you did your PhD in IIT Delhi, and that's where this work took place. And subsequently, you went for a stint in IIT Mumbai, right?
Yeah, I joined as a lecturer, senior lecturer at IIT Bombay after completing my PhD.
So, what kind of projects you kind of initiated in IIT Mumbai?
IIT Mumbai, mostly it was on product design, because when I joined, and a good challenge was given to me, can I replace 4 faculty who were teaching a course design methodology, which requires a manufacturing, which requires a creativity, this requires a design, and then requires a final assembly also. So instead of 4 faculty, can 1 faculty teach? It was really a very good challenge, and I studied hard to bring that in a proper sequence of the course. I really studied a lot number of methods, logically connected, and made a complete course. In
Yeah,
fact,
I mean, a lot of people do say, for example, many product which could possibly be of great use, but is never used because the product design is really bad.
right.
Right? So, product design is a very important thing. What kind of major issues are there in product design?
Major issues as such is the manufacturing, one of the one. I say that when I'm changing from steel to plastic,
Okay.
naturally design has to be changed, because manufacturing process is changed. I can't go ahead with the same design. Or when I'm changing from wood to the steel or wood to the composite, it will change. Design cannot remain same for all materials. A traditional one problem was that you design first, then choose a material, which is incorrect or inappropriate. We should think in totality and keep all the factors and then design it. And then you do optimization also. That was my main aim, to teach to young students who were in a 3rd year BTech. And in fact, I started their exhibition, and first exhibition which was covered in Indian Express in 2004, it got quite a bit of light, and then people appreciated that.
That's interesting, very good. So, after your stint in Mumbai, you again moved to your alma mater, if one can say so, IIT Delhi, right? So, when did you move to IIT Delhi?
I moved to IIT Delhi in December 2008.
December 2008.
Yeah,
and what kind of new projects you sort of initiated here?
I was working on a magnetic bearings. I was working on a magnetorheological fluids. Magnetorheological fluid I started from IIT Bombay. That time aim was to reduce the cost, because I found MR fluids has a lot of application. Is because it is a smart liquid. It can change from liquid to the solid state in maybe say lesser than 10 microseconds. So I can think about a bearing which can be made a brake if I go ahead with that kind of design.
You are saying you are looking at the idea of making a bearing go as a brake.
Right.
But a bearing one requires huge lubrication.
Right.
I mean, things have to move without actually having friction. But whereas a brake is exactly opposite. You need, it's like combining plus and minus. How do you do that? Like?
When we teach innovation course or product design, we say that product will be innovative if there is a contradiction, and you are able to break the contradiction.
Very interesting.
So here the bearing come break, we require a lesser friction and we require more friction.
At
So
different point of time.
right.
Depending
So-
on your use.
Right.
Yeah.
So I thought, why not I go ahead with my own innovation principles, which I'm teaching to young student. Why not apply on a product?
Yeah.
So here I did, and then when we teach to the student how to break contradiction, how to resolve this contradiction, I teach them also there should be some separation in time or separation in space. These are 2 principles which to solve the contradiction. So here we thought about the separation in time will act. When I record a bearing, I don't record a brake that time.
Okay.
When I record a brake, I don't record a bearing that time. So that is where I started working on that, and I got successful product, and we filed a patent. And
Very interesting. And I have also one more question. Why do you want to make a brake into a bearing, bearing into a brake? If they can be alone, what is the problem? What do we gain by making them into one?
we when we were studying the brakes, and then we found when you apply a brake, it causes a number of particles will release in environment. So some sort of wear of the brake will happen. You buy any automobile, you need to change a brake after 2 to 3 years, because the particles are moved away, or there is a material loss from the brake disc. So it goes in environment, causes environment pollution, And I think this is the main reason why asbestos bricks were stopped. People started using other polymer which are lesser toxic and then cause a lesser damage to environment. But I thought, why not we make a brick which doesn't cause any damage to the environment.
That's very interesting. That's very interesting. A technology that will reduce pollution that is being done by, let's say, most of the vehicles today. That's a very interesting thing, but unfortunately, we'll have to take a small break. Don't go away. We are having a very, very interesting conversation. After the break, we are going to ask him about another of his work, magnetic bearing. Don't go away. We'll continue this Eureka. Let's take a short break. Welcome back to this episode of Eureka, and we are having a very interesting conversation with Dr. Harish Hirani, Director of Central Mechanical Research Institute, Durgapur, a constituent unit of CSIR. Thank you. I mean, we have been having a very interesting discussion, and then we were about to start talking about your work on magnetic bearing. What is it?
Actually, if you see the magnetic bearing, it is there are two parts. One is a magnet and other is a bearing. So I'll just explain first what is a bearing. Bearing is basically a load support, and if the two components are in relative motion, so then the bearing can support. We have a stationary units, then there will not be relative motion, that will not be called a bearing. But when we say that when there is a relative motion, it can be low RPM, high RPM, low speed, high speed, and it's also there is a load. A component is able to support load under relative motion. That is called a bearing. And then we have a number of design. We have in fluid film bearing, we have a air bearing. In air bearing also we have a number of divisions. The recent advance is in the magnetic bearing. Can we make a bearing which lasts forever?
Okay.
That is the reason for the magnetic bearing. When we talk about the magnetic bearing, we have again the two types of magnetic bearing. We call active magnetic bearing, otherwise called a passive magnetic bearing. We studied active magnetic bearing initially, and then we found that a lot of feedback loop system is required. So how do we reduce the cost? Because the active magnetic bearing minimum cost will be around 60,000 rupees, which Indian scenario it will not be affordable. If somebody is able to buy a bearing in 200 to 300 rupees, why he will spend 60,000 rupees? So we started making passive magnetic bearing, and then initially we made a different designs. And finally, we found one good design which can really levitate shaft or the rotating element without any contact, which can survive or give the life more than 10 years, 15 years, till it gets demagnetized. Demagnetization also depends on the environment, temperature. If everything is under control, then I say the life will be forever.
Interesting. Let me now go back to your young age, when you were a youth. I was told that your first love was to become a naval officer.
Yes.
How did you become a scientist in engineering?
I appeared for the SSP interview. Somehow I could not crack that, and I was rejected. And then I found, okay, I already cleared my examination and entrance test for the engineering. Why not I join that engineering? So
what was your fascination for being a naval officer? Like,
basically, I wanted to serve to society one way or another way, and I found Navy is one of the attractive area where I really can do a lot. But somehow I was not able to convince to the people who were interviewing me that I can be a good person or a good selection.
but then how did you choose engineering and then research in this particular area? What motivated you to look at this area?
I was doing a bachelor. That time I was more attracted to other design. I found that design is a main. Manufacturing people are good, but design is still we are lacking. So why not do research, more and more research in design, come up with a different method, connect those methods. And I got opportunity to go to MIT, particularly in design field itself. It's we call axiomatic design. And that design, axiomatic design, says that whatever design you do it from a customer's point of view.
Okay.
You think that what a person needs, and then you design. So that's why now when I teach to students, I say that you think from functional aspect point of view, think what really you require. Quite possible when we do also reverse engineering, maybe something was made in abroad, when we bring to India, do we really require as it is complete system? Or when we do functional analysis, okay, these functions are required for India, these functions are not required for India. Quite possible few more functions are required for India, why not we bring those functions? Then only the innovation will come.
Very interesting. Now you are heading a very important institute, which is Central Mechanical Research Institute, Durgapur, a constituent unit of CSIR, and it's been in existence for more than 60 years now?
Yeah, 59, 60. This is a 60 year we will be, we have a foundation day on 26 Feb. So,
Yeah. If somebody has to ask, this institution has been there for 60 years, although you have taken it over only about 6 months ago, it doesn't matter. What 3 major contributions this institution has made for nation building?
we have a major contribution is a Swaraj tractor. Subsequent to that, we started Sonalika. Both are big hit. See from socio-economic point of view, Swaraj has shown very good results. One of the study shows that investment from CMERI was lesser than 2 crores, 2 crore rupees, and then returns are more than 6,800 crores.
6,800 crores. Okay.
On Swaraj, and a similar figure is for the Sonalika, lesser than 2 crore as investment and more than 3,400 crore is a return on that. It's a socio-economic effect analysis being done. Now, we also have launched recently Solar Tree. In my view, that will be a big hit. Reason being national highways, we have around 70,000 kilometer national highway road. If we install Solar Tree, and we can generate almost 35 gigawatt solar energy.
Okay.
And we can directly connect to the grid. There we will not be requiring any battery. Reason being a Solar Tree, we have one of the weakest element as any solar system. Weakest element is a battery. If I get rid of battery and directly give to the grid, it will turn out to be very useful for us.
Okay. Very interesting. We'll continue talking about the Solar Tree, but then we'll take a very small break. Don't go away. What is this Solar Tree? Very interesting. Solar Tree. Let's understand this after the break. Don't go away. We'll continue with this Eureka after the small break. Welcome back to this episode of Eureka. We are having a very interesting conversation with Dr. Harish Hirani, Director of Central Mechanical Research Institute, Durgapur, a constituent unit of CSIR. Before the break, you were mentioning about Solar Tree.
Right.
You were saying something like, for example, the tractors that came out of CMERI has been changing the face of rural India. You are saying for the future, you think or you hope or you wish the Solar Tree is going to be a turning point.
Right.
What is this Solar Tree?
We have seen the solar panels installed on mostly on the roofs.
Yeah.
Rooftop particularly, and then they consume a lot of energy or a lot of space. When we want similar kind of panels for the villagers or for the farm fields, we need to really make some roof, and which will turn out to be very, very costly. So instead of that, if I make a solar tree, and it's like a tree, we have a trunk of the tree, and it goes on the air, particularly the space of 20 feet, 30 feet high, we have a panels spread.
So it doesn't occupy the ground.
Right.
So it only occupies the atmosphere.
Right.
If one has to say so. Right.
And
Okay.
So if we can keep a number of farms, we can really charge batteries, because we have a feeling that many times in villages we don't have energy or electricity.
Okay.
So that electricity can be supplied through this solar power or solar power tree. We can charge batteries. In the evening, the farmers can take this battery and goes to home and switch on his fan or a light from using this battery.
So morning you come and deposit here for charging, and then evening you take it, and then night when actually you need electrical illumination, you can use it for those purposes, right? That's
so
a
that
kind
is,
of
will be one of the aspect or one of the advantage of Solar Tree. Other is that we have a national highway spread around 70,000 kilometer. We can install number of solar trees there. So whatever the lights which we require really on the national highways, that electricity can be given by solar panels, and whatever the saving on that can be directly connected to the grid.
Good. Okay.
So we get both the benefits, that we don't have to supply any electricity to the
National highways?
National highways, and then whatever the saving we can directly give to to the national grid. It will be very helpful to us. And our Prime Minister already is trying to achieve 100 gigawatt by 2019-20. If we get to install all these solar trees on the national highways, we will be able to generate almost 35 gigawatt.
Okay.
And when we were doing this, we also realized there is a need to do a post-harvesting also. Like in going to Assam or Mizoram, they cultivate ginger, they cultivate the turmeric. Ginger contains almost 85% water.
Okay.
And ginger has a number of qualities, and then there's a lot of demand even in abroad. So if you transport that ginger as it is to abroad, one is the transportation cost is going to be very high. And second thing is that because of the presence of moisture, then contamination will occur and then it will get spoiled. So we have post-harvesting facilities where we really reduce moisture content, and then transportation cost also reduces, and then shelf life also increases. So we are also working in the post-harvesting facilities. We have installed few machine in Mizoram, and our Mizoram CM appreciated that, and he is looking for the more facilities. And other than this, we have also goal to go ahead with the zero waste management.
Zero waste management.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
When I say zero waste management, means whatever you produce, somebody else is using that.
Okay.
Nothing is a waste. Like if there is a plastic, we say plastic waste is too much. And we are processing plastic to get the power at the synthetic gases. We can utilize for the ignition purpose, we can utilize for cooking purpose, we can run gas turbine. So
when you're talking about using plastic to generate gas, which essentially means that you want to break up this huge polymers into smaller hydrocarbons.
Right.
How are you doing that? What kind of digesters or what kind of method that you are planning to use there?
We are presently using the fourth state, that is the plasma state. We have solid, we have liquid, we have gases. We are going one state ahead of that. We are going to plasma, so that it is completely neutralized, it doesn't have any toxicity, and then we can separately that methane gas, which can be utilized for ignition purpose. We can use the hydrocarbons, and then we can run either gas turbine or wherever it is required.
So if we look at it, Solar Tree is one futuristic project that you are involved. The synthetic gas, converting plastic, which is a major environmental hazard, into usable fuel is a second aspect that we are trying to work on. Third is zero waste management. That's a major area that you are working on. One area which world over is exploding is what is called as robotics, right? So what's your institute going to look on that area?
It's very interesting area. We have more than 20 scientists working in robotics field. And we work under water robotics also, where we can find out complete topography of the undersea.
Okay.
We have tried one ship, we say that vehicle at the depth of the 500 meter. We are in future we are trying to reach to the 1000 meter, so that we can figure out really what is happening under sea. And quite possible we may get more energy sources by exploring undersea. That's a one. We also were working in mines, robots for the mines.
So that human loss can be reduced.
We are attaching a number of sensors, so that the methane gas sensor, carbon dioxide sensor, it can give exact location and the place where the carbon dioxide is on much higher side, or methane is higher level, and then people should not go there. So this kind of robots we are manufacturing, and then we have a collaboration with a number of other institutions. Particularly when I am talking about the zero waste, there also the robot can play a role. Separation is what we really require. We have been, if you see in recent past, we say that there is a biodegradable, non-biodegradable, and then people at the home, they should keep 2 baskets or 2 bins, one biodegradable, another non-biodegradable. But it has a overall fail. it is not many people don't have patience to segregate their leave-in, and sometimes they put biodegradable and non-biodegradable, and sometimes it is a mixture.
Yeah.
So we are thinking also, can we really do some sort of a separation using the robotics?
It's been a very interesting conversation with Dr. Harish Hirani, Director of Central Mechanical Research Institute, Durgapur, a constant unit of CSIR. In the beginning, I talked about when you go to a countryside, perhaps you see a tractor, there is the hidden hand of this institution. Perhaps 5 years or 10 years from now, when you travel in national highways, you would see a solar tree and you would see the hidden hand of this institute. These temples of modern India are what is making India progress and the Indian people progress. Thank you, sir. Thank you for being with us in the show.
Thank you.
We are glad that you have been able to spare time with us. Thank you.
My pleasure.